Hey everyone, it's Theo from Spectrum Gardening. So some of you may know this from following us on Facebook, but I have a heart condition. And I'm not talking I have a little minor condition like a heart murmur. I do have that as well, but I have a congenital heart defect. So what that means is I was born with my heart condition. It wasn't developed later on in life from eating bad food or unhealthy lifestyle or too much stress. It's just something I was born with. So the actual diagnosis of my heart condition is transposition of the great arteries. So what that means is the main arteries in my heart are switched, the reverse. The reverse, basically. So that means that typically the bigger part of the heart pumps out blood to the body. The smaller part of the heart takes oxygenated blood from the lungs. In my case, the smaller part of the heart pumps blood out to the body, and the bigger part of the heart takes oxygenated blood from the lungs. So that means my heart has to work a lot harder than typical people's heart. But heart condition doesn't stop there. In addition to having transposition of the great arteries, I have a replacement heart valve and conduit. I have a hole in my heart, which is also being taken care of. I have a heart murmur. I have atrial fibrillation. So AFib is when your heart, typically a heart will beat and it'll pump the blood out to your body. AFib is when your heart quivers and you have blood pooling in your mitral valve. So when that happens, the people with AFib are at a higher risk for blood clots, which then can travel throughout your body and can also lead to stroke. So I'm on blood thinners for the AFib, but I also have an irregular heartbeat, so in turn I have a pacemaker. So yeah, you can imagine with all those things, it can be quite challenging sometimes. It really can. The biggest part is when people first meet me, they don't see the heart condition. Because obviously I'm up walking around, I'm doing whatever, I'm conversing like people typically would. And there's no visible signs of it unless I take off my shirt. My chest is covered in scars, just absolutely covered. I have scars running down here, throughout here. I have one that starts here, goes all the way to my spine. Every limb that I have, every arm, every leg, every hand, every foot is covered in a scar pretty much. Some are bigger than others, of course. So when people first meet me, they're quite surprised that not only I have a heart condition, but it's also a serious heart condition. Because, especially if they follow us on social media, they can see me doing all these projects. However, what they don't see is how long those projects actually take. They don't see how exhausted I can get after the project. I do have some good days, and I do have some bad days. So on my good days, when I'm doing a project, when I'm doing work outside, I can typically do the project. I just have to rest more in between doing tasks. It takes me longer to do the project, but I also have to rest more afterwards. That's on a good day. On a bad day, I'm exhausted. I can barely do the project. I'm having a really hard time. It's taking me a huge amount of time. I can't physically do certain tasks because of the way my heart is acting. On a really bad day, projects are completely out of the question. And, it's extremely frustrating because imagine being a person that has the knowledge to do a project, to do something, but can't per se physically do it that day, but they know they might be able to do it next week, or they did it yesterday. To say it's frustrating would be an understatement. It really would be. It can honestly get quite a bit depressing, especially if I have ongoing issues with my heart that the doctors are still trying to figure out. The two most common reactions I get from people when they find out about my heart condition is 1, I'm sorry, and 2, can they fix you? I'm always surprised and shocked why they'd be apologizing. Would you go to someone that has prosthetic limbs or in a wheelchair and say, I'm sorry? No, you wouldn't. What's any difference with my heart condition then? Would you say sorry to someone who's quadriplegic? No. So why would you apologize for something that I was born with? And yes, the doctors have fixed me as much as they can. However, my heart condition is ongoing, meaning they can manage it the best they can with medication. I'm taking currently about 4 or 5 different medications, some twice a day. But they also manage my heart, one with a pacemaker, and my valves my replacement heart valves, they do wear out over time. So meaning they have to replace them. So I've had 5 open heart surgeries so far. I've had 8 different pacemaker surgeries. I've had 3 different cardioversions. So a cardioversion is when they send an electrical current through my heart when I'm stuck in AFib. So when I'm stuck in AFib and I'm not being able to get out of it myself, either by my heart coming out of it or with medication, what they have to do is shock me. So it's exactly what it sounds like. They put a sticky pad here and they put a sticky pad on my back and they send an electrical current through my heart to basically reset it. It's the same idea of when someone's in a hospital and they go into cardiac arrest and they have to take those 2 paddles, they place it on their chest and they shock them that way. Exact same thing. So I've had 3 different cardioversions and I've also had 4 or 5 different minor surgeries relating to my heart. So yes, they have fixed me. However, since my heart condition isn't simple, and since it's always evolving, and since it's basically a chronic condition, there is no magic wand where they can just wave and fix it. There's no magic wand that they can just wave and be like, okay, you're like everyone else now. You're having normal hearts and we don't have to do anything. No, it's not like that. Because you know what? Things wear out over time, like the heart valve and the battery in the pacemaker. Or my heart function changes. It either improves or it can get better. And then that's when they have to start tinkering either with the settings of the pacemaker or they have to start tinkering with the medication I'm taking. One of the issues that I have with my heart is actually bending over and working either for a short or a long period at ground level. So even though I recommend minimum 12 inches for people's raised beds, in our last place we built them 12 inches and I realized that there's times I'm having heart issues, I'm having a hard time bending over. So one of the reasons I built these beds a little bit higher, I built them 16 inches, is one, so I wouldn't have to bend over so much when I'm either planting or picking things. And it's also because we had so much ivy and bamboo here after we scooped it all out, I wanted to kind of make sure I had a little bit more barrier between them. So I built these beds a little bit higher just to make it a little bit easier on myself. And you know, just like with people with bad backs or things like that, a little bit of extra height on the beds is a great thing. Since bending over can be a little bit problematic for me, depending on how well my heart is doing at the time, I've not only had to make sure that my beds are a little bit higher, but I've had to modify some of my other garden tools. One of them is a Korean hand plow. It looks like this. And it's been used for centuries, and it has a short handle on it, and this is how they're traditionally made. I really like this tool, I really do. It's got so many different functions that you can use on it, so many different results. I'll do another video about a follow-up of just how much I like this tool later on, but there's times that it was hard for me to use because I could only use it when I was bending over. So what I've done is I've stuck a long handle on one just like this. So I took the blade from one and I took off the short wooden handle and I just attached it to a replacement shovel handle. So I get the exact same action in this modified one as I do in the traditional short one, but it's just easier for me to use. I can use it standing up just like this without having to bend over. If you've been following us for a little while, you'll know how much I like growing vertically. And that's for two reasons. One, I can maximize my space a lot more. Simple reasoning is if I can make the plants grow up, I can plant more things in the horizontal soil below it. And if I can pick when I'm standing up like this, it's much easier for me versus continually trying to bend over and having a sensation in my heart, in my chest like this, that I can't breathe. As I get exhausted, depending on how well my heart is functioning or what I'm doing, I have to be very aware of how much energy I'm expending on certain tasks. So one of the ways of being able to kind of get smart about it is planting a lot of plants in a smaller area, basically intensive planting. Now that's good for a couple of reasons. I'm maximizing the space. I'm not having to move around too much to plant those plants. Remember how I can have a hard time bending over? I also don't have to move around too much to harvest those plants. I can basically sit in one spot on the edge of the bed like this, and I can pick them all. This bed behind me is zucchini and a squash, and I know later on this year it's going to become almost unmanageable. It's going to become a jungle. However, planting them this close together makes it way easier for me to garden and way easier for me to harvest things because it's all in one space. I can just basically sit here and do what I need to do. Thanks for watching. The main reason I made this video was not to talk about my own health condition. It was to use my health condition, my heart condition, to help bring awareness to other people that may be struggling with invisible health conditions. Keep in mind that a congenital heart defect is actually a lot more common than you would think. 1 out of 100 children born will actually have a congenital heart defect. It's kind of astonishing if you think about it. If you did like this video and you found it informative, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to us, and if you have any questions or comments, throw them down in the section down below and we will answer them.